Health Advantage Credit Union. They are located in Greenacre Plaza, right at the corner of State and Hemeter, the former Saginaw Medical Credit Union. And we are here because our good friend Carol Thomas, our elder law attorney, is presenting a very special seminar for members and others of Health Advantage Credit Union. And what would it be if we didn't have Carol Thomas to talk to? So good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
I'm fine. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So since it's been quite a while since we've done this, what's new in elder law?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I really don't know of anything new. I actually called my son that's a lawyer in my office this morning, and I said, I know Art's going to ask me what's new. There really isn't anything new, but that's a very good thing. That's good news, that everything is the same. We still can help people protect assets if they go into long-term care. We still do estate planning. It's great.
All that good stuff. So how does Michigan stack up against the rest of the country in terms of how they treat elder law issues?
I think we're wonderful if people follow the rules. If people make mistakes, potentially they can lose everything. But if people do the right thing, Michigan is, and quite a few states can. For married couples, we can save 100%, but some states we can only save about 2/3. So in Michigan, if the married couple has everything in order and one spouse goes in a nursing home, we can protect all of their assets and we can get Medicaid or the state of Michigan to pay the bill, which, Art, we have a nursing home now that's over $15,000 a month in the Saginaw area. And the others have gone up to $12,000, $13,000. They're just zooming in prices. So people need to think about the seriousness of getting things done.
How has, if there is any, how has the impact of all the discussion of Medicaid impacted this?
We don't anticipate it'll impact us at all. The basic Medicaid discussions are the Medicaid health insurance that individuals have. Our Medicaid nursing home is an entirely different program, and there isn't any talk of touching that at all.
So you mentioned following the rules, like should you put a child on a deed? Your favorite topic.
Well, Art, I'm glad you asked that. I had someone that came in yesterday, said she came to a seminar of mine several years ago, and I told them at the seminar to add all the children's names on the deeds, and that's why she did it. And I nearly fell out of my seat, like you almost just did, because
she wasn't at your seminar.
and we're going to totally correct it. She misunderstood, and I apologize to her for that, but we need to change it because that is one of the mistakes people make. They add a child's name on a deed, then they go into long-term care, and the next thing you know, they potentially could lose their house someday.
Yeah, it's right on the top of the list, isn't it? And
yes,
explain, you know, it's one thing to say don't do it. It's another thing to tell them why they shouldn't do it.
Correct.
So what happens if you put a child on your deed and then you or your spouse find yourself going into a nursing home?
Do you mind if I spend the whole hour giving examples?
As much time as you want.
Okay, thank you, Art. It'll make it you're done asking questions then, because I'll take over. The number one issue, and this happens more than people think. Mom, 90 years old, adds her daughter's name on the deed. Makes sense, so they think. Daughter's husband, who's 70, has a stroke, goes into a nursing home. Well, his wife is on his mom's deed, so there's an artificial, like, additional assets, that they say. So if mom's home is worth $100,000 and she added her daughter on, that daughter technically has an additional $50,000, and then daughter and her husband have to pay $50,000 worth of care at the nursing home to offset that gift. Art, that happens more than you think. People just never, as people are living longer, they don't think of their children needing long-term care.
All right, so let's take the child off the deed. But I want my child to get my house. If I have a trust, does that trust ensure that my home is going to go to where I want it to go upon my passing?
Assuming that the trust was written correctly, absolutely.
a lawyer.
Yes,
what if?
you got to
Well, maybe.
cover ourselves. But you know what's interesting about the home and the trust, Art? For married couples, having the home in the trust prior to a spouse going into a nursing home, in many cases we can get the spouse on Medicaid literally within minutes. But so many people don't set up trusts. They're told by a general lawyer, all you need to do is a ladybird deed. And it was 1 week, about a month ago, I had 3 couples that came in that particular week. Each one of them, the spouse was in the nursing home, so the spouse was in my office. Each one of them had the amount of money that they needed help. They couldn't afford paying $12,000 a month to a nursing home. Each one of them, if they had had their home in the trust, I could have had him on Medicaid within 10 minutes. Instead, 2 of them were incapacitated. I have to go to court. I have to get a court order. They're going to have to pay nursing home for 2 to 3 months. It costs them so much money.
Let me ask a question I don't think I've ever asked before. She's
Yeah,
sighing.
I'm sighing already.
No, it's good. It's a good question. Let us take a couple. They do not have a trust. They own a home. They do not have a trust. But they have medical power of attorney. So let's say spouse, male or female, goes into the nursing home. And let us say that for whatever reason they're not competent as defined by you when you go to speak to them. Because the partner has a medical power of attorney, can they still then build a trust?
That doesn't help us at all, having a medical power of attorney.
I knew that.
There are 2 types of powers of attorney. The medical, which is extremely important for medical decisions, but that doesn't help us do any nursing home protection. We need the financial power of attorney.
Okay, so let's say they have that.
It depends how it's drafted.
Of course.
My son reviews trusts and powers of attorney from general lawyers, and I don't want to knock general lawyers. They're fabulous. But this is a very special area of the law that we do. And over 95% of the time, their power of attorney doesn't allow us to protect assets. So if someone just has a general power of attorney, unless it's done by an elder law attorney, technically there should be a certified elder law attorney in the office so you know they know what they're doing, we still may not be able to help them.
Wow.
It's very sad, very sad.
Well, we are broadcasting today from Health Advantage Credit Union because you have a seminar coming up for Health Advantage Credit Union.
I do. I have a special spot for Health Advantage. I have been a member since 1992.
So they told me.
Yes, so I've been a member a very long time. I've had mortgages here, car loans, bank accounts, just everything.
I'm glad to hear that. They wouldn't show me your account, so I was...
I don't know what's in it right now. But anyways, so I just have always loved how they've taken good care of myself and my family. My children now also come here. So they asked me to do a seminar, and actually I did one with them several years ago, and it was well attended, and I just really wanted to do it with Health Advantage again. So it's coming up.
When is it?
June 11th at the Horizons Conference Center. It's at 5:30, and there should be some good hors d'oeuvres and some good information, but I'm really excited for the seminar.
And if you go to their website, there's a QR code where you have to register.
Yes, and if someone can't use computers, I believe they can just call the main number and also register, which would be 989-791-7070.
All right. And I know they have quite a few registered already, so
They
it's
do have
limited seating, as always.
Limited seating, and also you don't have to be a member of the credit union to come to this. They've opened it to anyone that would like to come.
Okay, now the major question, though. At this seminar, because it is specialized for this organization, will you have cookies?
Well, we're having hors d'oeuvres.
We're having hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah,
Whoa.
we're actually doing better with the food department for this seminar than
I might
I
have
typically.
to come to this seminar.
This might be the one to come to. But I'm doing it as I normally present my seminars that I do routinely in the community. So I'll be showing slides, and I'll be talking for about 45 minutes on what people need to know. And it's important information.
All right. We will be back with elder law attorney Carol Thomas, and also if you have any questions for her about elder law, you can give us a call at 989-752-6111. Elder lawyer Carol Thomas And we are broadcasting today from Health Advantage Credit Union in Green Acres Plaza at State and Hemeter.
Rocket Grab Plus.
This is a test of the emergency.
Hi, we are back with you, chatting with elder law attorney Carol Thomas here at Health Advantage Credit Union in Saginaw. And Deborah is in Bay City. Deborah, you are on with Carol. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Deborah.
Hi. I'm trying to make this quick. We just have a will, but with a trust, we have several children, blended family. Can they hold up the trust? Like we are in a trust right now through someone who passed away, and it's been going on for 10 years.
Boy, I'd have to know more facts to answer that. That's very, very unusual. With the trust that we draft, things are wrapped up very, very quickly. The only wait usually is the sale of a home if there is real estate. But I've never heard of anything that long. It should not be that long.
Just out of curiosity, are trusts challengeable by the recipients, if you will, or the named?
Yeah, can they hold it up?
Well, there are a lot of lawyers out there, and so anyone can challenge anything.
Oh, okay.
And then they can just drag on and on. Whether or not it would hold up, that's a whole other issue.
In the long run, you mean, yeah.
Right. But anyone can challenge anything.
We only have a will, but we were thinking about a trust. But like I said, we are in a trust from somebody else, and it's been over 10 years, and it is through you. So I don't know what the steps are for that one.
There's got to be another issue. I honestly am pretty aware of what's going on in the office, and I don't know of any trust that 10 years they're still working on it. There's got to be more to the facts than what I know right now.
Be worth a call after.
Yeah, you could call my office afterwards. Actually, I'd be curious if you could call my office afterwards, and I'd love to know what you're talking about because I'm very surprised.
Well, and then it was also stated that if anybody contests it, that they would be thrown out. So I don't know if that's part of that, if someone says anything or not, but we do want to come to see you for our trust because we only have a will because our lawyer told us we didn't need a trust.
Right, and general lawyers that don't understand the nursing home protection will often say just do a will, but if you own a home, you really need to have a trust because a will only works after you die. A trust lives with you, so if you need nursing home care, it really helps to have the trust. And again, for married couples, it can make protecting all the assets very, very simple if nursing home is needed.
And obviously, I've been trying to get my husband in, but he doesn't want to pay that big fee. It's a consultation, a free consultation to begin with, or how does this work?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no charge for the initial consultation. And remind your husband, and I do not want to give fees on the air, but a nursing home costs $15,000 a month. So you're looking at protecting a lot, and my fee is minor compared to that.
Okay, sounds great. When is that?
Right.
When is that session going on?
At Health Advantage Credit Union, they're sponsoring me at the Horizons Conference Center in Saginaw, and that's June 11th.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. And that opens the lines. If you have a question for elder law attorney Carol Thomas, 989-752-6111. It's, how do I say it? There's a lot of confusion about elder law, isn't there?
There's a lot of confusion, yes.
It just seems that way. Well, it's something we don't think about and we don't like to think about because, who likes to think about the fact their demise is at some point coming?
Right. Well, and the issue is most lawyers, when someone goes to talk to most lawyers about estate planning, they really focus on what happens the day that I die. They don't focus on what if there's an incapacity issue before you die,
Right.
and that's what elder law attorneys focus on. And it's important, Art. I've never been busier with people going into nursing homes and people not prepared and that I can't help them. And that's heartbreaking because, as you know, I've tried to be in the community for the last 27 years, doing seminars, letting people know, just find out. And if people don't want to find out what they need to know, and then suddenly there's a stroke or falling down the steps, any
then they
number
wish
of things.
they knew.
Absolutely. And if it's too late,
Well,
it's very sad.
So let's talk about this. I know we've talked about it before, but let's talk about this competency issue. Because if someone goes into a nursing home without protection, their spouse can't come to you and say, well, we need a trust because my other spouse is in the nursing home. It's the spouse that's in the nursing home that has to be competent to say yes. Is that right?
Absolutely. And it's a spouse in the nursing home or even a single parent in a nursing home. They need to have signed the right financial power of attorney while they're competent, allowing the protection to be done.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but competency can have windows.
Absolutely.
You can go in there today and talk to someone and judge them as not competent and talk to them a half hour later and they are competent.
Absolutely. And it's
So you're looking for that window.
Absolutely. It's such a misunderstanding because I'll have people that will come to me and they'll say, well, the doctor said, my dad has dementia, so I know it's too late. And I said, not necessarily, so I'll ask questions. Yeah. And again, it's just we need that lucid moment, that's the legal term, that dad can sign the papers. And believe me, we want to run in and get it done if we can because it's much harder to be connected with the courts.
Richard is in Saginaw. Richard, you're on with Carol Thomas. Good morning.
Good morning. If a person has a trust and they pass away, once the assets of the trust are dispersed to who they're supposed to go to, and they do a final tax return for the person who has passed away, is the trust at that point, since there's no assets left, is the trust at that point considered closed, or do you actually have to do some kind of official action to close the trust?
No, if there isn't anything in the trust, it's no longer a valid trust because that's how it works. But I want to address something that you said, and this is really going to probably open up the phone lines. We do things a lot differently in our office than just about every other lawyer. If someone sets up a trust with our office, we title the real estate in the trust, but we never, ever title money in the trust.
Heard you say that.
Yes, and if you notice, Richard, you mentioned about getting things out of the trust. For us, it's just the real estate. The money assets, we recommend having beneficiaries on things. That can be wrapped up as soon as there's a death certificate. So that can be literally within 2 weeks. So
without going through probate, without doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. But since most lawyers, if you set up a trust with them, they say, oh, you've got to title your money in the trust. That does make it a lot harder. And it's harder to protect, Art, if the money is in the trust, and yet we need the trust, and that confuses people.
All right, so let me ask this while Richard's on the line here. We know you shouldn't put your children on your deed.
Right.
Can you put them on your money accounts?
Only as beneficiaries, not as a co-owner.
Okay.
As a beneficiary, absolutely, it's a good thing. It's wonderful to do that, but not as a co-owner because that can be considered a gift.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's a huge problem.
Richard?
Okay, that takes care of it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Bye-bye now. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll talk to, looks like Karen in Saginaw. Let me talk about McDonald Ford and Freeland for a moment because, as you know, Very difficult to find things made in America anymore, but McDonald Ford knows how to do it. They have found many, many vehicles made in America under the Ford name, and with the uncertainty of tariffs, it's become even more important. So McDonald Ford, in anticipation of those tariffs, stocked their lot with tariff-free vehicles and many more en route. Not only are they tariff-free, but Ford is offering employee pricing for everyone, and now they've extended that through July 6th. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means you pay the same price as Ford employees. In addition, let's say you're a Chrysler import buyer. You're considering a Ford. You'll get the lowest price offered. Chevy truck buyers can now think about getting into Ford F-150, the best-selling pickup in America, also at employee pricing. So you see, now is the right time to visit McDonald Ford M47 in Freeland for the best selection and lowest possible price. Don't let tariffs prevent you from getting the vehicle of your choice at a price you can afford. Visit McDonald Ford in Freeland today, tariff-free, and employee pricing for everyone through July 6th. Carol Thomas is with us, and we will talk about her seminar coming up for the benefit of Health Advantage credit unions when we return.
It could be the best years.
Hi, we are back with you with elder law attorney Carol Thomas. Tell us again about your seminar for Health Advantage Credit Union.
It's coming up June 11th, and it's going to be at the Horizons Conference Center in Saginaw, and it's at 5:30. So there'll be hors d'oeuvres, and we did one a few years ago, and the people that came really loved it. And the Horizons Center does such a great job with refreshments.
And if you go to healthadvantagecu.com/seminar, there's a QR code, and you can sign up for it. Or, alternately,
You can call 989-791-7070.
and it is no longer restricted to members.
No, definitely
It's
not.
open to the public. So
Right.
give that number a call. Sign up for the free seminar and hors d'oeuvres. Fancy. Let's talk to Kevin. Whoops, Karen. No, Karen must have hung up. All right, Karen, call back and we'll get you on. If I said to you, Carol, what is the number one mistake people make in elder law, what would it be? I have an answer. I'm curious to see if yours is the same as mine.
I have two that are tied.
Okay.
May I do that?
Yes, of course you can do that.
Number one is not having an adequate financial power of attorney.
Power of
That is
attorney, okay.
major.
Yep.
And then, of course, adding someone's name on the deed. But there's a third, actually.
Well, I was more generalized.
Okay. But what are you going to say?
Not having any paperwork.
Oh, that's too simple. Yeah, but you're right. It'll never happen to me. I'll never
Oh,
go
of
to a
course.
nursing home. I had someone yesterday that said, well, I'm not going to do this because no one in my family's ever gone into a nursing home, so I know I won't either. And I sat there thinking,
Yeah,
I was still really nice, like, but how do you know? What I
if you have an
see every
accident?
week. Exactly. I mentioned earlier falling down the steps. I can't believe recently. Really,
Well,
seniors have to be careful with steps.
It's one of, at my age, ripe old age of 82.
You look
one of
50.
Thank you very much. My body tells me you're a liar.
I'm a lawyer. I can't be a liar.
Oh, okay. So, one of the first questions any doctor will ask you if you're a senior citizen is, have you fallen lately? It's common.
It is.
And a broken hip is one of the leading causes of incapacitation and eventually death in many cases. So it's quite understandable. While people say it'll never happen to me, guess what?
Yes.
Nobody escapes this life without death, And
Correct.
on the way, there's a lot of other things that happen, you know.
No.
So it is, it's really important that we have that proper paperwork. But really, the power of the financial power of attorney is first and foremost. If you don't own a home, you still need it, don't you?
You still do, absolutely. Because if someone goes into a nursing home, to protect the money, we have to do transfers. Often we might have to set up a special trust at that point. And if the power of attorney doesn't say we can do that, we're stopped. We can't do anything. If the person's incapacitated, we can't have them sign a new one. And I guess that's my number one message I'm trying to get out, is get a great financial power of attorney allowing for nursing home protection.
All right, so let's say we have that. I'll set myself up as the guinea pig here. Let's say I have, which you know I do, financial power of attorney, and my son is named as the financial power of attorney. If I were to go into a nursing home and be incapacitated, what can he do with your financial power of attorney that you wrote?
Since you are currently a single person, he can protect 60 to 70% of your assets.
He can do that even though I didn't have a trust.
Correct. If someone owns a home, I typically recommend a trust, but
Right.
the most important thing is to get a well-drafted financial power of attorney. Whether you have a home or not, that is crucial.
Interesting.
I'll have people that come to me are maybe $2 million, but they rent, they don't own a home, and I don't recommend a trust for them. So it has nothing to do with the size of your estate. It's the home ownership or even paying on a home that you need to get that
Is
in the
it
trust.
because the state treats real property differently than other assets?
No, it's because, again, especially for married couples, the home being in the trust is our key to getting the money protected, in many cases, much more quickly.
I just, I find it interesting. I've often found this, and we've talked about it. I found it interesting that you don't put money in the trust, and I understand why you don't do it. But the home, if we put the home in the trust, that tells me there's something different about the home than there is about my bank account. See what I'm saying?
It is different. It's because
Okay,
it is different.
it
Yes,
is.
because the home, the basic premise of it being a home, there are different things on how we protect your money with your home being in the trust. It's difficult to explain.
See, folks, this is why you need a lawyer, an elder law attorney, because it is complicated. Elder law is not simple, is it?
You know, I'm often asked, why don't a lot of lawyers do elder law? And I'm not sure I've ever explained to you how I got into elder law. So when I started practicing law 27 years ago, it became clear to me very quickly that people were losing their life savings by the cost of nursing homes. So I had a law school professor that brought in a lawyer from the community in Lansing that talked about how all the time he saves money for people if they're in nursing homes, and no one around here did this. So I pulled out my school notes and I called him, and that lawyer and another lawyer, I trained under them for a combined 5 years before I would start to do this. I wouldn't even touch this without studying it for years. It's a very complicated field. You don't want to make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, then people could lose
Costly.
everything. Yes, exactly. So again, I trained for years, because people often come in and say, well, why didn't my lawyer talk about this? And I always say, your lawyer probably knows a lot more than I do about many things, but this one area, saving money if you're in a nursing home, we do specialize in that. That's all we do. But the thing is, because we know how to save the money in a nursing home, we know how to draft the documents that are necessary at that time. So it's kind of like we do the documents that are necessary if you go in a nursing home, so we already have them. And the lawyers that don't do the nursing home protection really don't understand what needs to go in the documents. And I don't fault them, they just don't do this.
And the documents, does the content of the trust ever change?
Not really. There might be minor changes, but no, I would say no.
If I sell my home that's in the trust and buy another home, then you have to go in and change the titles? Or
Yeah, we just do a new deed, and our office never charges for that. I just say, if you ever buy more property, get that deed to us so we can add it into your trust.
That's two different things.
Oh, what were you?
If I own my home but I buy more property,
Yes.
Does that secondary property get put in the trust too?
Absolutely.
all
All real
real
estate.
estate. Okay.
I had someone not that long ago, we put 28 pieces of real estate. Of course, he had a lot of rentals. But any real estate that you own definitely needs to be titled in the trust.
Wow. All right. We're going to take a break, and we will be back. If you have any questions for elder law attorney